pages. Katie was a beautiful red crawler tractor. She was very big and very strong, and I bought it because I liked it so much. Anyway, over and under the thank you for sticking with me through the ups and downs of the story time. Read Over and Under the Snow. Well, some of the stuff that we read about in the story. Hungry and chilled to the bone. But I couldn't think about myself. Briggs Martin, illustrated by Mary Azarian. Raise your hand. So, and here we go. The snow is really starting. Anyway, thank you very much for hanging out today in the snow.
It doesn't have to be this big, but anything.
You might be likely to run into if you're out here in the wintertime. Bear and Bunny Grow Tomatoes by Bruce. Wow, heck out of his tomatoes. And Bunny sleeping like a ball of yarn. But when I do, the tomatoes are sure to be colossal. Welcome to Storytime with Ranger Dena. As you can hear, we are moving into spring. The water is just running off the roof. We still have 4 feet of snow though, so not really planting yet. However, today I figured we would read The Curious Garden, my absolutely favorite garden book. We'll narrow down to absolute favorites, and it's also my absolute favorite Peter Brown book. So, The Curious Garden. And this one, it's important that we check out all of the pictures inside the cover. Good job spotting. Teeny tiny little squidge of garden. So, that's going to be important. Curious Garden. There once was a city without gardens, or trees, or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, when everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. That's right, so you can see Liam exploring. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. So there we go. Yep, you can totally see the plants need some assistance. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. I love that he is singing to the plants. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. And the wind is getting frisky. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the curious garden explored every corner of the railway. You can see the garden moving along and expanding. I love this book. I hope I'm getting the pictures completely in, because they are just delightful. After spending his spring and winter and autumn, I misread that, didn't I? After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Whoops. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. So, do you see how he spent his time preparing? That's right. He's reading up on it. Probably hit his local library. And his tools. He is prepared. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. Yes, you can see that, can't you? But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. And still singing to the plants. I love it. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Let me get out of the way so you can see. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. They may or may not have had a little help. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Here we go. More of those delightful pictures. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. So, do you see Liam? Oh, that's because I need to move the book over. So, yes, you can see Liam and his wife and their kids. All with the garden. Okay. And we talked, yes, remember back at the start, our teeny little garden squidge? Ta-da! Fully gardened. Okay, and you noticed there's an author's note at the end of the book. And I love a good book that's based on a true story, so I'm going to read you the author's note, and I think you'll appreciate it as much as I did. It often seems impossible for nature to thrive in a city of concrete and brick and steel. But the more I've traveled, and the closer I've looked at the world around me, the more I've realized that nature is always eagerly exploring the places we've forgotten. You can find flowers and fields and even small forests growing wild in every city. You just have to look for them. On the west side of Manhattan, there is an old elevated railway called the High Line. Its trains rumbled high above the city streets for decades. But in 1980, the High Line was shut down and forgotten. Without people and trains getting in the way, nature was free to redecorate. Over the years, the rusty rails and gravel slowly gave way to wildflowers and trees. And if you look at the railway today, you'll see a lush garden that curves above the streets and between buildings. From grass bursting through cracks in a sidewalk, or a tuft of goldenrod clinging to a brick wall, to a meadow winding along an abandoned railway, nature can thrive in the unlikeliest of places. All of this made me curious. What would happen if an entire city decided to cooperate with nature? How would that city change? How would it all begin? And then it's signed Peter Brown. My favorite gardening book. I will commit to a favorite. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me today for story time. And enjoy the spring and the sunshine. We are supposed to get up in the 70s this weekend and be sunny and just beautiful. But that also means the snow's going to melt off quickly. So if you're near where it's flooding and things, do be careful, please. Take care, peeps.